Freelancing is one of the best paths to becoming self-employed, even if you have no clients, no network, and no idea where to even start. I've landed 3 freelance clients since quitting my 9 to 5 as a software engineer, and the most recent one that I got was actually much more high ticket, and this could replace almost half of my 9 to 5 income with that client alone once I deliver this project. So I'm very, very excited about that. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how I got my freelance clients, how I made my offers, where I found them, and the biggest mistakes I made so that you can skip the painful trial and error. And I want to be clear, I wouldn't consider myself a full-blown expert on freelancing. Like, I'm pretty new to this. I've only started in February, and I've gotten three total clients so far. I've also turned down some other offers, and I'm currently working on adding another client as well. And honestly, I feel like I had the money and the opportunity all around me. It just took me a minute to see it. So hopefully for those watching this, the goal is that you to avoid the mistakes I made and just get the ball rolling and land a few clients to start your self-employment journey. I want to start off with some full transparency. Freelancing is not for everyone. If you're happy with your job and you're happy with the money you're making, or you need more stability, there is no need for starting this. But if you do want to eventually go and be your own boss or build another income source, freelancing is an incredible stepping stone, both financially and to just build up the skills to become self-employed. Freelance is kind of the transition point to self-employment. You'll gain experience in building something for yourself, experience in selling, negotiation, customer service, and that's pretty much all starting a business is. And if you're a new guy, it's a great way to gain low-risk experience because it gives you some entrepreneurial credibility. Because if you deliver something, people are going to trust you, not a team, not a company, but you, that you can deliver results. So it is a logical step to kind of financial freedom as a business owner. And eventually, as you get more credibility, you'll get more money, you'll get more freedom, you can hire, you can make systems, and then this is when you can truly reach financial freedom. But there are some healthy expectations to have starting out, especially if you're a beginner. Number one, you will probably make less money starting out. So have a financial plan if you do quit your job, or if you're doing this on the side, just be going into it, know you might not make the same rates that you're making at your 9 to 5 because you're going to be getting credibility and gaining trust. And number two, it's probably going to start slow. Like, you're going to have a high rejection rate. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. So it's for sure a learning experience. In the beginning, the main barrier to overcome is gaining client trust. And once you succeed here, once you have a few delivered projects with good results and hopefully good reviews or good client testimonials, that's huge. You'll be more trusted. You can charge more. And another bonus to succeeding in this space is there's a lot of consulting potential. People will pay you to map out systems for them, seeing you as an expert who succeeded. Consulting, I'd say, is more about strategy, and freelance is about the execution. And in my mind, you have to get good at the execution part before consulting comes into play. So there's going to be a few things you need to make this work and jumpstart your journey. And the first and foremost to earn a lot here is you need a skill that is valuable in the marketplace. This could be coding, it could be sales, content skills, specific knowledge, something that you have experience in, that you know well, and that you can crush it given the opportunity. For me, it's coding, software engineering, and my knowledge and experience relating to that. If you don't have a skill like that, you're going to have to pick something that's a little bit lower barrier to entry. Think of things like a cleaning service, lawn mowing, maintenance, junk removal, stuff like that. That's just going to take longer to scale, and eventually you could charge a higher rate once you niche down. But even with these things, you need many skills, especially people skills like sales, pricing, researching the market, and more. So there's really no getting by on not having some level of skill to this. For me, I leveraged my entire background and skills from my 9 to 5 for my freelance work because my entire 9 to 5, I was making complex web applications from scratch for very specific business use cases. So this is exactly what I offer through freelance. I usually negotiate by the project or by retainer. Right now I've got a little bit of both going on. And then I make the software myself, and I use AI to just fly through the development as fast as I can, while also making it the most robust and reliable software that they're happy with. Next, let's talk about network. A professional network will make it 100 times easier to sell your freelance work and clients. It can be family, friends, acquaintances, the guy at the gym, friends of friends, family of friends. It could be anyone. You never know who needs work, and we're going to get into that later on here. But it could be an in-person network, an online network if you have an online presence. However you can get in front of people is important. Now, if you don't have a network, you can still win, but it's just going to be a lot harder. I'm just going to be honest with you. It's going to be harder to earn trust without demoing that you're a real person with a track record of success. And this usually just translates into lower prices without a network or experience. This just goes to show you that in your life, please go meet as many interesting people as possible, because these could be potential friends, potential customers. Just show up at things. Like, do whatever you possibly can to meet people at your job, the gym, the church, whatever it is you do. Go out and foster relationships with people, and this can help you later on. So let me discuss a few of the problems I solved for all three of my paying clients that I've had, how I met them, just to give you an idea of what your offers could look like. So the first client I got was actually off Upwork. They were a small software team in a really tough place and had a stubborn bug that was just stifling their development. They were having trouble identifying where it was, they couldn't seem to roll back to a previous version, and they were totally stuck in their development due to this. And they needed help to unfreeze their software because they had to shut it down essentially. And I was very familiar with their app structure, essentially just a React app. And I was in charge of those types of apps at my 9 to 5. So I just said, look, I'll take a look. If I can get it fixed, here's a flat rate for fixing it. And I fixed it. And they were very happy. They paid me. They gave me a great review. And now they can go and work fast again. So it really wasn't about me. This was a real world outcome for them. Now they can move forward with their project very quickly, and that's the direct value that I delivered. Another one, this is my newer and higher ticket client, and this is a 5-figure contract, the first one I've ever signed. And I met them through a connection of a friend that I went to university with. So this guy runs a software consulting business and he focuses on companies having logistical planning issues and makes software for them. They had a few projects they wanted to bring on, but they didn't have the dev resources, and that's where my friend connected us. So that's why you need to tell people in your life that you're open to work and present your skill set, because you never know who's going to connect you. First thing we did was we talked about a trial task where I delivered some functionality for a small part of one of his applications. They liked it. Now they're giving me the reins to my own project, basically around budget logistics for another contracting company. So this whole thing is just saving time for the guys running the company. So they're more than happy to pay a lot of money to save hundreds of hours in the future for them. So my third client was having an issue with her tutoring business. She had all manual processes, all appointments written in her notebook, payments tracked in her notebook, no online presence, and she wanted an easy way to book people on a mobile website, give a sample of her reading course, and in really more of a custom way where she could also add personal slides and things as needed. So I used AI to make a React application from scratch. And for her, I do about 5 to 10 hours per month on retainer at an hourly rate. So this was an app built from scratch, which again, skill I learned in my 9 to 5. And the way I know this person was because they're an extended family member. So I know classic Weiler, right? Doing business with his family. Definitely my lowest pressure client to work with. But her business is bringing in good money. She's just short on time. Even before leaving my job, we talked about me building this thing for her, but I never really had the time back when I had the 9 to 5 till I left my job. Then we reconnected and I picked that project back up. This just comes from letting people know that you're open for work. Again, it doesn't hurt to tell people you're ready for work. So she let me know that she just spends so much time on manual processes. So the goal of this application is to get her time back that she spends organizing appointments, collecting payments, and manually giving people the course. So it's software for her to save 5 to 10 hours per week, in logistical work. So you can see my theme here. My theme is really using technology to drive outcomes that help people get their time back and get work done faster. So hopefully this gives you an idea of what your offer could look like, just taking their problems, how you can fix them with your skills. I mean, I could not have done any of these jobs without pretty sophisticated software engineering skills. So that first step, obviously pick a skill, pick something you can do to solve someone's business problem. Then once you have that down, craft an offer based around the problem you're trying to solve. You got to really focus here on what they get out of the deal. This is not about you, it's about them. Remember my deals. I mean, these were all really, at the end of the day, a great deal for them. And that's what a lot of people get wrong about this type of stuff. They start talking about, what they can do, what my experience is, but you don't talk about what it does for them. I help X type of client solve X painful problem by doing X. It could be a one-time fix, could be ongoing support, could be just building an entire product for them. This is all about presenting yourself and your experiences in a way that gives someone trust in you that you have the ability to fix their problem. A couple of things I'm working on would be a clean website, some way to cleanly show your experience or projects you've done and the outcomes you've gotten for people so far. And then ideally, eventually, testimonials, so people saying that you did a good job just to build that credibility. So my offer is mostly built around my experiences in software development. And then depending on who I'm pitching to, I advertise myself as a guy who can save you time and money through robust and scalable software, or a guy who can get you unstuck. It really just depends on who I'm talking to. So now you have your offer set up and you know how it's going to deliver and drive outcomes for your clients. So how should you start the outreach? I made a big mistake here due to my ego and not wanting to look stupid in front of people I know. I went for the people I didn't know first, and I think it should be reversed. You might have a gold mine in your life and not even realize it. One of the biggest mistakes I made, not reaching out to people in my network. I got 2 of my 3 clients just from people that I either knew in real life or connections of people that I knew in real life. So start close, expand outward, Start with family and friends, let them know what you're offering, and then more importantly, ask them, well, hey, if you don't have a need for this, do you happen to know someone who's looking for work? You could even offer a finder's fee. So when I quit my job, I put feelers out there to people close to me in my life, and I knew immediately I had my family member who could use some help getting online as my first client, lower paying client too. And then outside of that, someone I went to university with knew someone who needed freelance software work. So he connected us, and now that's my highest paying client. These are what we call weak connections, those kind of friend of a friend connections. And you might not even know that you have them. So I highly advise reaching out to people you know just to start. Also, try keeping up with people on LinkedIn. Like, it's not a bad idea to have an online presence there. You don't even have to post on it. You just watch what other people are posting and then keep adding people that you've worked with. And then eventually you have a network there that you can tap into. An online presence can also help drastically. I mean, even through my YouTube channel, like I've met some people in console calls or just through my networking here where I can 100% see me working with them in the future. I've almost had a few clients this way just by networking online, connecting with people, and you can get work from your existing network. So reaching out to your network is preferable, but if you don't have a good network, Upwork is a viable second option. And there are a lot of pros and cons to looking for jobs on Upwork, and we're going to get into all of that. I've gotten one client here, and I've also gotten a few offers here as well that I declined. Here's my thing with Upwork. If you have a lot of experience and a network, Upwork is going to be hit or miss, and it might be easier for you to land high-paying work with people you already know. If you don't have as much experience or a good network or online presence, this is probably the play. Full transparency, as a guy with zero Upwork experience going into the year, I have had some issues getting paid what I know I'm worth here. I mean, even at my experience level in software engineering, like at my 9 to 5, my hourly rate averaged 80 to 85 an hour, but commanding that on Upwork is very difficult with no prior freelance experience. So as far as people on Upwork know, I had no experience. And sure, I don't really think I gave Upwork my best shot. I just haven't decided if I'm going to return there or not. I've found more success tapping into my network. My measuring stick for if I accept a client now is if I think I can make more spending that time on YouTube, then I won't take that client. I've also been pretty bad on Upwork at estimating my time. So even if a job says that it pays $300 and you think, maybe this will only take me 4 hours of work, you got to account for all the other stuff, the interviews, the getting it set up, the back and forth questions, and eventually the actual work could take 8 or more hours. So some of those jobs just aren't worth it sometimes, and you take into account everything else and just what you could be getting paid on other projects. I accepted one job through Upwork, essentially just to see how the process worked, but declined a few others because the pay just wasn't as good as I know I could get, and I wanted to focus more on growing my YouTube. I do believe, however, if you get over the experience hump, and you might need to go through a couple of low-paying projects first, you can command some legit money here. I do know a few people who personally have made over 100K on Upwork, and then eventually you just take the clients offline or you meet other clients through those clients. It does just kind of compound. It's more than doable. I think it is viable long-term if you just go through that rough first phase. Once you get the reviews, the trust, you can charge more and more, and eventually people start approaching you for work if you're seen as a top-rated developer. Another thing to keep in mind is they do have a lot of fees. They take about a 10% cut of your earnings, and you do have to pay a little bit to apply for jobs. So network is obviously the preferable option, but you can succeed on Upwork. When it comes to succeeding on Upwork, take time to set up your profile. Have a clear picture, a clear summary of your experience. And then the underrated part, use a video to show a little bit more about who you are and what you're looking for. Then apply to jobs using a nice clear proposal. And spoiler, I used ChatGPT for the proposals. I pasted my resume into GPT, then would have it, spit out a proposal based on the jobs that were posted. That was kind of my shortcut hack. But you can meet clients here. Eventually you can take them off the platform. If you're a new guy, this is probably where I'd take on some work for very cheap, like targeting some of those lower paying projects just to gain the experience and the reviews, and you can work up from there. So the TLDR, the pros of Upwork: no network required, not as much experience required, and you can still succeed. The cons: it's a large hump to get over. There's a race to the bottom with pricing at times. You won't make as much money right away, and there are lots of fees. So do with that information what you will. Next, let's discuss how to actually close the deal. So usually when you reach out to someone or apply to a job or a contract position, obviously you hop on a call with them, you ask them about their problems, then you decide for yourself 3 things. Number 1, can you actually solve their problem? Some uncertainty is fine, but please do not take on a project that you don't think you can solve, because you're creating a nightmare for everyone involved if you do this, and that's really hurting your credibility. So just don't do that. Number 2 would be, are they a good person to work with? Because you're essentially going to be a part-time coworker with them. So if they seem like bad or unreasonable, don't do it. Number 3 is the pay worth your time. So you might need to undervalue yourself just to get the experience, but have a minimum number in your head that you will take. Freelance projects are also heavily open to negotiation because usually it's a small business without strict rules like a huge company. So be reasonable, but don't be afraid to ask for a little bit more. Also, if someone is on the fence and you want to work with them, offer some value right away. Just say like, hey, I'm willing to work with you for 1 week at no cost, and if you like what I do, then we can move forward. Definitely have a plan ahead of time before going into these meetings, so you can offer a trial period, even free work, just anything to prove to them that you'd be a good person to work with. One of my clients, I did a trial task and I completed it. We both enjoyed the project, and now we're doing more business together. Then once you're both in on the deal, agree on a contract which will cover the rates, the expectations, and any other back-out clauses or legal things. And this is very normal stuff. It's very important to get it in writing to settle any future disputes. So I'm still new to freelancing, but I've already made many mistakes that have cost me time and money. So I'm going to share these in no specific order. Number 1 is not concretely defining the scope of the project. So the scope just means what you're entitled to deliver to them, the parts of the project. And when you get a freelance job, usually you have a written agreement or contract in place, just like I described, with the expected outcome and contingency plans. If you do hourly, this is a little bit less relevant, but if you charge by the project, which is very common, please have your work very concretely defined so there's no room for interpretation or for them to slip in more work. This hasn't been a huge problem, but it has happened to me where you have a vague contract and then they say, well, can you just add this in? I don't know, can you put this in? It's not complete until you do this part. And the wrong client could turn this type of thing into a nightmare where they just keep asking you to add stuff for free, basically. So make sure you protect yourself with a clear contract. The number 2 problem is undercharging. So I know my experience, I know my time value, and I accepted some deals early on that were definitely not worth my time just because I wanted to prove I could get clients. And if you take a deal that is sufficiently below your market value, which might happen due to lack of experience, make sure it's not a long-term thing. And this trickles into my next thing. Don't be afraid to drop clients. Could be for any reason, pay, you're not enjoying the project, not enjoying the people, and don't feel guilty about it because some turnover is normal till you find a project that's a really good fit. I had to drop a client because they really could only offer me equity in their startup and not much of a retainer to stay on, which is kind of what I was looking for. I liked the people there, but at my position, I just wasn't really to accept that risk, so we parted ways. And for some reason, I still felt kind of guilty about it, but as long as you wrap up all the work and you explain why and leave the door open, then move on. It's normal for this type of work. Also, I already mentioned this, another mistake was not reaching out to my network sooner because instead of scrapping for attention of strangers, you could find people that you have more trust with, people who know who you are, colleagues, friends of colleagues, and who cares if you look dumb? Just do it because you might be able to skip the scrapping phase by doing this and jump straight into a higher ticket client. So that's how I landed my first freelance clients and how you can start too. If you found other ways to get clients, I'd love to hear your take in the comments. And as always, I appreciate you watching and I'll catch you in the next one.